Hi again, Gregg of the News Tribune here at Seahawks headquarters in Renton after day one of the NFL draft. And this team will never do what you expect them to, and they're not just going to draft players. If you figured that out by now, a very Seahawks first day of this draft, meaning they traded. They traded again. They traded their first round pick for the 8th consecutive year. As expected, as I've been talking about and writing about for months, they traded down from 21, 9 spots with the Green Bay Packers, to go to 30 and pick up 2 fourth-round picks. That gave them 7 in the draft. At 29, they took L.J. Collier, defensive end from Texas Christian. A lot of people thought he'd be maybe a second-round pick, but Pete Carroll mentioned twice the, quote, chip on his shoulder that Collier carries around, and how aggressively and motivated he plays and seems in person. Where's that chip come from? Collier said it comes from his mother. His mother, Ruby, passed away of cancer freshman year at TCU, and he said he lives his life for her. It means she means the world to him, and that he played for her in college. He got his degree for her because of her from TCU recently, and that he's not stopping now, that he's coming out here to play for his mother as well. She was his biggest supporter and biggest inspiration, and remains so even after her death. And Pete Carroll said that he could feel that in the pre-draft visit that Collier made out here at Seahawks headquarters. Collier comes from a tiny town, Monday, Texas. It's just below the Texas Panhandle. It's about 2.5 hours from Fort Worth, where he went to college. 25 people in his high school graduating class. He said that small town shaped him, and he is very proud to have come from there and to represent it, and that town is proud tonight, as is his mother looking down from above. The Seahawks are getting an intrinsically motivated player in L.J. Collier. We'll see how good he is on the field. He's going to be a 5-technique defensive end on the outside shoulder of tackles. That's the role that they want Rasheem Green to flourish in, their 3rd-round pick from USC last year, who didn't do much as a rookie. Carroll said tonight he needs to do more, meaning Green. And why, of course, are they drafting again at defensive end and edge rusher? Because they traded Frank Clark. On Monday, John Schneider said the market just got out of whack, and to use Pete Carroll's term, the market went crazy on him, and that's why they didn't re-sign Clark. Carroll said they had every intention to give Clark a long-term deal. The Seahawks thought they could get it done around the $17 million mark per year, which would be around at the franchise tag number they already had him for this year. And then what happened? DeMarcus Lawrence signed with Dallas for $21 million. Schneider said that really surprised the Seahawks. It changed Clark's baseline of where he was asking for. And that $4 million a year, you can buy a couple free agent defensive tackles for that. And the Seahawks wouldn't go there. Not after re-signing Russell Wilson to a record $140 million deal, not with Bobby Wagner's contract ending, and he's going to get a top-of-the-market deal at linebacker after this year. So that's why the Clark multi-year negotiations fell apart. And here comes Kansas City with what Schneider said was a aggressive offer. Aggressive meaning a 1st-round pick this year that they used on Collier tonight, 2nd-round pick in 2020. That's why the deal was done. They said they love Frank Clark, but he just priced himself out of Seattle, basically. So now Collier gets a chance to be what Clark was. Carroll said they need Rasheem Green to step up and be what Clark was. I don't think they're done adding pass rushers. They weren't done trading. They had picks 29 and 30 after their trade with the Packers. At 29, they took Collier. At 30, guess what? They traded again with the New York Giants, moving down 7 spots to 37. The great deal about getting the 2nd-round pick they really wanted is it's only 5 spots into the round. So 5 spots into tomorrow's 2nd round, the Seahawks will be on the clock again. That gives them options at defensive tackle, run-stopping defensive tackle that they need, at safety to replace Earl Thomas. Chauncey Gardner is still on the board from the University of Florida that can play corner, slot corner, and safety. That's someone to look at for the Seahawks with that 5th pick in the 2nd round tomorrow, if he's still around 5 picks in. Seahawks, they didn't get the guy you probably wanted. You probably wanted Montez Sweat, who went sliding down the draft boards and then finally got picked up by Washington in the trade up. I think the Seahawks medical staff, which is notoriously conservative, probably had reservations about the enlarged heart and reports of enlarged heart and medical reports that he got coming in the pre-draft process. There were conflicting reports today whether that finding was accurate or not. A lot of you I heard online wanted DK Metcalf, the hulking wide receiver from Ole Miss. He was available at 21 when the Seahawks were picking, and the Seahawks didn't take him either. That shows how pressing this need is for pass rusher. I still think they're going to go wide receiver with Doug Baldwin's age 30 and coming off 3 off-season surgeries, an uncertain future. I think they are going to go safety. I think they are going to go another edge rusher. But I think safety and, depending on who's available, and run-stopping defensive tackle are their first priorities. That trade down to 37 from the Giants also netted them a bottom of the 4th round pick Saturday and a bottom of the 5th round pick. So now the Seattle Seahawks have 9 picks in a draft that they began this week having only 4, which would have been the fewest in team history, fewest in the league. To me, that's value. I know it frustrates you that you sit through the draft, you see all the hoopla of everybody getting hyped up on who's taking whom and who's going where, and we want this guy. But this is how the Seahawks do it. They cultivate draft picks, they draft down. I mentioned 8 years in a row they've done trading their 1st round pick. And in the draft where they only had 4 entering this week, you just knew this was going to happen. They'd rather have a bulk of 9 picks rather than 2 at the top of the draft and a couple others throughout. They have big faith in Pete Carroll and their coaching staff here to bring those guys up, whether they're around 2 guys or 6 guys or undrafted free agents. One other thing, people ask me, why did the Seahawks trade down the 1st round so much? Well, this year was another example of the Seahawks not having as many 1st round grades on players deep into the round. If the Seahawks, for instance, they rarely have more than 20 1st round grades on players in any given draft. And the Seahawks habitually now, 6 out of the last 7 years, have picked after 20. So they're picking after their lot of what they've graded as 1st round talent has run out. So instead of giving a slotted by CBA contract for a 1st round pick that includes a 5th round, potentially rich 5th round option, pick them in the 2nd round. And while doing so, trade your 1st round pick, get extra picks later, and you don't have those contract restrictions of a 1st round pick. That's the method as to why they do what they do. Frustrating, I know, but it's worked. They made the playoffs 6 of the last 7 years, won their only Super Bowl. You can see the poster behind me. 2 Super Bowl appearances. It has worked doing what they do. It just is frustrating for fans who want to see action on day one. Well, they got some today. LJ Collier, defensive end from Texas Christian. I'll be here tomorrow. The draft resumes with round 2 at 4 o'clock. Because there's about 7 minute maximum, the Seahawks should be picking around 7:30 Eastern time, 4:30 Pacific on tomorrow with their 37th pick if they don't trade down again. Thanks for watching. Thanks for reading at thenewstribune.com and at Twitter. G-Bell, Seattle.